And we need to find the bits of it that we can have conversations about and that do spark those chats, because that is where like the really good stuff happens. But you need to kind of figure out what that is. And sometimes that does mean you have to share a little bit more, even if it's just your thoughts around something. Like, give us something basically to connect with.
Hey there, welcome or welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast. I'm Zoe, your guide on this journey to shake up the status quo and design a life that truly makes you feel alive. If you've ever felt disconnected, stuck on autopilot, or trapped in a life that feels more like a treadmill than an adventure, you're in the right place. I know that change can feel scary, so let's turn down the fear and crank up the fierce as we transform your life from the inside out. Whether it's solo episodes packed with actionable advice or interviews with some absolute badass human beings who've dared to defy the norm by living life their way, we're here to inspire, activate, empower, and challenge you each week. My mission is simple: to help you reawaken your rebel spirit, break free from mediocrity, and design a life that's anything but dull. You only get one wild life, so what are you planning to do with yours? If you're ready to stop settling, start living boldly, and create a positive impact along the way, let's dive in and stir up some mischief together. Now buckle up and let's go. Hello. This week I'm joined by someone who knows how to turn the everyday grind of marketing into something simple, doable, and, dare I say it, actually fun. Hannah Isted is the creator of the best 90 days ever and the author of the book by the same name. And she's all about helping small business owners market themselves in quick, powerful bursts that don't feel super overwhelming. We dive into the magic of 10-minute tasks, why being an underthinker might just be your new superpower, how to experiment your way to momentum, and what it really means to show up with full-blown big fish energy. If you've been stuck on social media, wrestling with your newsletter, or overcomplicating the whole putting yourself out there thing, Hannah is about to make your life a whole lot easier. Right, this week it's my absolute pleasure to be chatting with Hannah Isted, who I have interacted with quite a lot on Instagram, but we've never actually sat down and have a proper conversation. So I'm really looking forward to this. Hannah, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. I would love to find out what your mischief is.
So I was thinking about this morning on one of my dog walks, and I think my mischief is my big fish energy, which has been kind of a theme that's been running through this year. And yeah, it's basically that feeling of like trying to feel like a big fish. And I think that's what it is.
I love that. That's such an unusual answer. So, how do you see big fish energy, and how are you bringing that into what you're doing? You know, I imagine that if that's been a theme for the last sort of year or so, if you've been taking certain steps to achieve that, what does that look like?
So every year for my birthday, which is the 1st of March, I try and come up with like a theme for that year. And so last year was Why Not Me? And then this year I thought, right, what's it going to be basically? And I was speaking to my friend Liz, who I think has been a guest on this podcast for, hasn't she?
She has, yeah.
And I was saying to her, basically, that I felt like there were some opportunities that I wasn't putting myself forward for because I didn't feel like a big enough fish. And she was like, you are a big fish and you need to feel like a big fish as well. So obviously Liz does the rejection challenge too. And I think that's been really useful, well, for everyone that's been taking part in it basically. And I just thought, okay, if I was a big fish, what sort of things would I be doing this year? And that has really helped me to just be a bit more experimental, put myself forward for things that I maybe wouldn't put myself forward for before, and also like improve my skills as well. So one of the things within that is probably public speaking. That's quite a big one. And I just thought, right, well, a big fish would try and get better at public speaking, and they would do more of it and they would try and improve that. So yeah, it's almost just thinking, if I was a big fish, what would I do? and then doing those things. And it's been such a fun year, and loads of amazing opportunities have come from it as well.
Love that, because one of my questions was going to be, what are some bold or mischievous steps that you might have taken this year? And off the back of that, you must have a few. What kind of bold moves have you made so far?
So I've pitched myself for speaking events, and some of them I can't say about yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I've put myself forward for different things like that. I spoke at Social Media Conference Cymru, which was a social media conference here in Wales, and that was amazing. And that felt like a really big fish thing to do. And I think it's just been thinking almost like, where in my life and business do I want to improve things? Do I want to make things better? And how can I turn it into something fun to do as well? So I also run a group called Gals Who Do Things here in Barry. And we just meet up once a month, and it's a way for people to make new friends and meet new people. Because I only moved here 7 years ago and I didn't know anyone, which was probably quite a big fish thing to do as
Yeah,
well.
it is. It is. Yeah.
And I just did that, and that has been, like, one of my things as well this year. We've met up every month. In the summer, I did a TikTok about it. It went viral. We've got 200 people in that group now. And, yeah, it's just been things like that across the year that have just felt really exciting and interesting, and I've really enjoyed doing them.
Yeah. Would you say that you're the kind of person who follows the fun? Like, if you have an idea and you're like, it sounds really fun, I don't know if it'll go anywhere. Are you the kind of person that's going to just try it anyway?
Yeah. I class myself as an underthinker, so I almost follow the fun, sometimes in a way that might be detrimental to me, but I just think, well, like, obviously there are things that I think a lot about. There are things that I overthink about as well, but generally with a lot of, like, business decisions and fun things I could do, I do think I just tend to go for them, and I just think, well, what is the worst that can happen? Maybe it feels a bit cringe, maybe it doesn't work. There's not that many things that are really permanent. So,
Yeah.
and I like to just have a go at them and see what happens. And actually, my dad told me this saying, like, years and years and years ago, and I've kind of, like, lived my whole life by it since then. And it's, opportunities multiply as they are seized. And I think it's from The Art of War.
Yeah.
But it basically always reminds me that if I feel a bit stuck and things aren't happening, I need an opportunity. I need to just do something, like, whether that is saying hello to someone that I haven't said hello to before, like volunteering or doing a video. Yeah, I just think they always lead to something else. And I love that, because you don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And it's so cool that you can pinpoint one tiny little mindset shift to something that your dad once said to you. I love it when you can, you even understand where that mindset's come from, and you can let it sort of steer your life. I haven't actually asked you what your business is about, but I think it's a really fun business concept. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what it is that you actually do for those who don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So I run HI Communications, and I've been doing this for 10 years now. And I help small business owners to promote what they do in 10 minutes a day. So I've got a membership called The Best 90 Days Ever, and I've also got a book of the same name. And basically, every single day, and we've been doing this for 4 years now. So every single day for the last 4 years, I have taught this group of small business owners one thing that they can do to improve their business, to grow their audience, to promote what they do. And the idea is that it only takes 10 minutes a day. So it's supposed to be so small that you can't talk yourself out of it. Like, they're so easy to do. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. And then before that, I was a social media manager and basically just helped small businesses with their social media. But I've been self employed now for 10 years, and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And actually, my husband Tom, this morning, I said to him, like, what am I going to talk about in this podcast? And he said, "You've been working from home since before working from home was cool. And I was like, yes, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, you have shaped your career around what you wanted it to look like. And I think that's so admirable. And to find out that you've been doing it for 10 years, you're an absolute veteran at this.
Yeah, it's been a long, yeah. No, I was going to say it's been a long 10 years. It's gone really quickly, actually. That's the kind of funny thing. But I studied event management at university. And then when I left university, I had a couple of jobs after that. And, when you just think, like, this is just not for me, but I'm not sure what the next thing is.
Yeah.
And I kind of just started thinking about that. And then I decided to go self-employed. And I actually took my current employer at the time on as a client. So it just felt like everything was meant to be that way. It was really, it worked really well.
So did you find it challenging transitioning into self-employment, or was it quite sort of smooth?
I think I liked the fact that it was different, and I liked making my own routine and like having to almost make myself work, if that makes sense, like motivate myself and almost noticing like when that was hard and when it was easier. Yeah, and I always enjoyed promoting my own business. I always enjoyed the marketing side of it. So I think it was an interesting transition, but it was something that I'd been so excited for and so excited. Like, I really wanted to do it, but I just thought, this has to work. I don't want to go back to having a job again. So, whatever happens, I've just got to motivate myself to make this work.
Okay, so just tell me, did the best 90 days ever start immediately, or was that something that kind of grew out of helping your clients?
Yeah, so that took 6 years for me to think
Okay.
of. So when I hear people saying that they don't know what their thing is, I always say to them, like, mine took 6 years to figure out what my thing was,
Yeah.
and it was through doing lots of different things and trying lots of things, and there were things within that first 6 years that I thought were maybe gonna be my thing, and they didn't end up being, and that's fine. So, it can take a really long time to get to that point, and even when I started the best 90 days ever, it was literally one block of 90 days. And during that 90 days, I remember saying to those members, I want to start a membership. Like, that's what I think I want to do with my business, but I can't figure out what the membership would be. And it was literally staring me in the face
Isn't
that
that funny?
it would,
Now it
yeah,
sounds so obvious.
yeah, I know. And I couldn't see it at all. But yeah, so it took me ages to figure out what that thing was going to be. So I think you have to have the patience for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so true. I think the more we can have that experimental mindset, which I think you have, the easier it can be to transition into something that does light us up. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like those original members and the original 90 days. Like, how long did it take you to go from having this block of 90 days to a recurring membership and then writing a book?
So I think so I did the first one 4 years ago in October. So it
Mhm.
was basically I needed some money before Christmas because I'd had a launch and it hadn't gone to plan, and, I was kind of thinking, like, "What am I gonna do?"
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea and decided to go for it. And then I'm pretty sure I started it on the 1st of January as the reoccurring membership then. So within that 90-day period, I realized that that was what I wanted to do, and I just carried it on. And then it had been running for 2 years before it was turned into a book then. So I probably had about 500 different prompts to choose from for the book, because during that time, I'd been experimenting with the prompts as well. I'd been experimenting with what resonated with people and what they wanted to work on. And like, it was really interesting because I was speaking to one of the first members recently, and she was saying about some of the prompts that actually I didn't continue with because they were a bit less business focused and a bit more life focused. And I just thought, yeah, that was really interesting. I tried that
Mm.
and it didn't work, and that's fine. And I just moved on and tried something else. So yeah, that's kind of been the process of it so far, the journey of it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been talking to so many people lately who feel a bit stuck, not broken or lost, but just caught in that weird in between where you know that you're meant for more, but you just can't seem to get yourself moving. And honestly, I get it because I've been there too. That's actually why I created something new called the Rebel Reset. It's a 90-minute session where we shake things up, we cut through the fog, and we get you moving again in a way that actually feels like you. So if you've been waiting for a sign or you're tired of ending the year feeling frustrated, this might be exactly what you need. You can just message me reset on Instagram, or you can reply directly via text through the show notes if you're curious. All right, back to the episode.
And what are some of the biggest struggles that your members are coming up against when it comes to marketing themselves? Because I mean, even talking from experience, I don't find marketing particularly easy, but it really appeals to me, the 10-minute tasks. I love the fact that you're breaking down something that feels a bit overwhelming and it feels a bit heavy, and you're turning it into something doable and also fun.
I would say letting it only take 10 minutes is the hardest part for most people because they don't believe that it can be that quick. And I think we've
Yeah.
had, I was going to say brainwashing, but I don't think that's the right phrase. But we've almost been taught that for something to be good, it needs to take a long time. Like you can't possibly create something quickly that is worth doing. And I think I had to really unlearn that even just from my 2 jobs that I had. And like I wasn't employed for very long after university, but thinking I have to be in this chair from 9 till 5, from 8 till 4, whatever time it was, even if I'd already finished my work. So you're almost taught that it doesn't matter how quickly you get it done, you still have to be doing the work and things. So I think that is probably the hardest bit, the letting it be easy, the letting it be quick, and believing that it actually can. And a lot of that is like being your own boss and almost parenting yourself to say, I'm going to set a timer and I'm not going to go over this timer. Whatever happens within that 10 minutes, that's good enough. I'll post it. It's got to be good enough. That is probably the hardest part, I would say.
And that's such a good tip as well for anybody listening. Get the 10-minute timer out
Yeah.
and just be really sort of rigid about it.
Yeah, and you can do it for any part of your life. Even if it's just a fun thing that you want to do. Like sometimes I think to myself, I really wish I had time to read more books. And I talk to myself and I'm like, do I genuinely not have 10 minutes to read a book? Because my screen time is telling me otherwise. I've spent
Yeah.
more time on TikTok today. So it's almost just thinking, right, well, if I can swap out one of those 10 minutes for reading a book or, I don't know, tidying up at the end of the day or posting about my business, doing a story, doing a video, like it's going to make such a difference because it just compounds.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think what's coming out for me is that you've managed to build a business that feels fun, feels sustainable and simple. I don't know, but it sounds to me like you've created some systems in your life which allow it to be that way. So what kind of things have you put in place? We've already got this incredible tip about using the timer, and I definitely think I'm going to use that.
100% get a timer. Like I've got 2 timers in this room alone, so definitely get a timer. They are really good. I think a lot of it, and actually a lot of the members have been saying this recently, and I think this will probably make up some of the messaging for my next launch, just to
Mhm.
so give you all an insight up to that. And it's about the feeling that you are organized and that you are ahead and that you have planned. And it's almost being that person who is organized enough to plan ahead, like becoming
Mm.
that person. So this week we are actually doing Christmas content systems week. So I'm walking them through how I create my own Christmas content system. And it is really simple things, like as simple as I set up a Trello board. That is my Christmas content. I open that every year. Like I opened it at the start of November. My content is there. I saved it last year. I don't need to start from scratch. I can just come back to that. My photos on my phone are in a folder called Christmas photo. They are there. It took me probably 10 minutes to set up, and I add things in every time I take a Christmas photo. Really quick and easy. I have folders in my email account where I save my emails so I can reuse them for next year. It's just that little bit of time to save yourself time in the future. And they're really simple things. But because it's so simple, people don't do it because they just think, well, it couldn't possibly be that easy. I couldn't possibly reuse my content for next year because someone will notice. But they won't. Like, they genuinely won't. And if they do, that means it had enough impact on them that they would notice it again in a whole year's time. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of my tips, is to just find an organization way that works for you that you can keep up and keep doing.
I love talking to people who are super passionate about what they do, and it's so interesting to find out how how people get where they get. I don't know if the catalyst into self-employment was that moment of going, do I want to do this for the rest of my life, or whether there was more to it than that. But I know that not everybody would have the courage to take that leap. So the fact that you did tells me quite a lot about the kind of person that you are already. And now you've mentioned that you're an underthinker, you've got systems in place. And I just think, oh God, everybody needs a Hannah next to them. Like, I need a Hannah going, right, have you thought about your Christmas content yet? Have you put your things in folders? Have you organized your photos? Because the answer will be no. Um, no, it's so interesting to, when you meet somebody who does have a different approach and a different way of thinking, you kind of get, the light bulbs go off.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the members say I have like a sassy Hannah. And sometimes that I will switch on my sassy Hannah, and this is my not overthinking, underthinking. Why aren't you getting this done? Let's just crack on, put the timer on. And it works so well. And that is what a lot of them need, like the sassy Hannah. That's what I need as well. I have to turn her on with myself too to make sure I get stuff done. So yeah.
Amazing. Thinking about somebody dipping their toe into marketing in a way that feels fun. What's the easiest place to start? Imagine somebody's either starting from scratch or they've fallen out of love with posting.
Yeah. Which I think happens monthly for a lot of business owners.
Yeah.
Like, that's absolutely fine. So my probably two places that I would start is either with the content that you've already shared before. So go back, have a look at something you have previously shared this time last year. Like, what did you literally share this day last year? Because you probably did share something that, like, this week that you can use again. Find something just to get you out of the funk and to get you posting. It doesn't really matter that much what it is, because we're just trying to, like, get things moving. And then the other thing that I like to do is, if you are going to scroll on your phone, which pretty much all of us are going to do it with some curiosity. So go through, and what is making you stop? Like, what is actually stopping your scroll? What are you finding that you are drawn to? What is getting your attention? And don't just think about it as something like, oh, they're doing so much better than me, they've posted today. Think about it as like, okay, that hook that they said worked really well for their business. What is something that I could take from that and then apply that to my business? And just be curious about it. And I just think, experiment with it. It's not that deep. It's not that big of a deal if you do a post and it doesn't get many likes. Go and do another one. Do something else, like change it up. So I think getting back into that experimentation mindset is really helpful.
Yeah. And I think the longer I talk to you, the more I realize that is kind of how you operate. There is no big hang up about whether a post works or whether it doesn't. It's just like, okay, do the thing and move on.
Yeah, definitely. And I see a lot of people and a lot of kind of Instagram gurus talking about, like, you don't need to post every day. You can do 2 posts a week and you can get away with that. And they probably can. But I think for small business owners, we need the time to figure out what works for our audience. And to do that, you need to be creating more content. Like, you might have to post a little bit more than what is comfortable for you so you can figure out what actually works. Because 1 post a week, that's 4 posts a month. So at the end of the month, you've got information from 4 posts. It's probably not enough to figure out what is actually going to work for you and your business. So chuck it out, chuck some more stuff out, learn from it, get all the
Yeah.
information at the end of the month, and then you can figure out what you want to carry on doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really good advice. And one of the things that I really enjoy about your content is when you mix in there, like, you love going to car boot sales and buying up buying up all the stuff. How do you navigate the content that you put out that's sort of like personal and the content that you put out that's more business related? Do you like to have a mix? Do you ever worry about whether it's too personal? Or again, does that kind of experimental mindset come in and you just go, it's just something that I'm interested in and it might be interesting to other people?
Yeah, I definitely have boundaries around what I would share.
Okay.
And there's not that much that I wouldn't share. Like, I wouldn't share about my relationship with my husband necessarily. I don't really talk about money. So there are things like that that I wouldn't share. And because I know the things that I wouldn't share and I have some set things that I'm very happy to share about, I just share lots of those things. And it does mean that people feel like they do really know me. And
Yeah.
that's great. Like, I want to get to know people and I want to share stuff on the internet. So I kind of just needed to decide what that was going to be. So yeah, for me, it looks like car boot sales. Absolutely, they're my highest performing stories. Of like,
That's
it doesn't
funny.
even come close to anything else. My dogs, things like that. I love to share about my dogs. Obviously, my business stuff. I share a lot about Barry and moving to Barry and things like that. So they're the things I'm very happy to share, and I just talk lots about them. So you almost need to just decide what that is going to be. And I think Liz is a really good example of this because she decided that she didn't want to share her children's faces. And
Mhm.
like, that's a good boundary to have. So everyone knows where they stand with that. So you can kind of think about it that way. Like, what are you happy to share and what do you not want to put on the internet?
Yeah. And I think one of the things I love is what you just said about actually getting to know somebody on a slightly different level. And that to me says a lot more about being able to be authentic and not have to put yourself in a box. Just because you work in a particular field doesn't mean you can't then post about something that you love doing. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes the more we can mix those up, the easier it is to connect with each other.
Yeah, definitely. I always think that if you want more engagement on your social media, you need to give people something to engage with. And a lot of the time, our work isn't that engaging. And that is absolutely fine. We need to find the bits of it that we can have conversations about and that do spark those chats because that is where like the really good stuff happens. But you need to kind of figure out what that is. And sometimes that does mean you have to share a little bit more, even if it's just your thoughts around something. Like, give us something basically to connect with.
Yeah, that's so true. Um, I I know that you've sort of gone through some life pivots and stuff. Can you imagine yourself doing what you're doing now for the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years? Or are there other things on the horizon that you're like, oh, I think I might want to dip my toe into this other thing at some point?
I don't know. No, I kind of, yeah, I would be happy to carry on this. And I think it is going to change. Like, I'm realistic in the fact that with AI and all of that, like technology things, it will change. Platforms will change, and that's fine. I would love to have like a physical space, I think. And I don't know if I actually want the reality of the physical space. So I need to kind of figure out if that is actually something I want or if it's just a dream that sounds
Yeah.
nice to me. But yeah, I think I would love to just carry on and I guess carry on that experimenting. So as new opportunities come in and things change, figure out what that looks like. But it's funny because that my kind of main goals, I suppose, with life were I wanted to write a book, which I've done. I wanted to run a marathon, which I've done, and then I'm running London next year. And I wanted to get married, and I've done that. So I've kind of like ticked off those things that I was like really working towards. So I'm curious to see what goals are going to come in next now that I've done those things.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm curious as well now to see what you're going to set yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Is there anywhere else that you think you'd like to live? Because how did you end up in Barry?
So that is a long story, but basically my ex-boyfriend lived here and we split up before I moved and I couldn't afford to live at home basically back in Bedfordshire because it was quite expensive there. And I was already thinking about moving over to Wales, like he lived in Wales. So I just thought, do you know what? Like, what is the worst that can happen? If I buy this house and I don't like it, then I'll sell it and I'll move back, and that's fine. And I wanted to live by the sea, so I ended up viewing this house in Barry, and it was almost exactly the same layout as my granddad's house in North London. And I just walked in and I was like, yes, this is it. This is the house that I want. So yeah, that was kind of how I went about it. I renovated the house and then I met Tom on Bumble and we went on our first date and then that was that really. I mean, that was only a month after I'd moved. I always just felt like my life was waiting for me here in Barry and I just had to kind of make that decision to move here and that's when everything just started falling into place. So yeah, I love it here. I would be open to moving, but I can't imagine anything being better than like where we are now at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. When you told me that, when you started talking, I was like, damn, I think I've asked a really stupid question there because we're going to go back into ex-boyfriend territory. Um, but actually, I love the way you explain that. And it's just another example of you creating opportunities for yourself based on what feels aligned to you, what feels right. And you ended up in a place that you love, by the sea, in a house that you love, and meeting the person that you love. I mean, what can be better than that?
Yeah, and it was a risk. Like, and I'm very lucky that I could take that risk. You know, I don't have children. I kind of knew that my parents would be there to support me if anything did happen. Like, I could always move back in with one of them, whether they wanted me to or not. The option was probably yeah. So I was lucky that I could try that. And I almost just thought, well, if I don't try it now, things will happen that will make it harder for me to try it in the future. So,
Yes.
yeah, that was really nice. And I remember my stepmom saying to me, like, "Why don't you just stay still for a little while and just," and I was like, "No, I don't think I can." So, yeah, that was that, and ended up being such a good decision.
Yeah. And also, when you said that you made the decision and then things just started happening, I've heard that so often that that's the real big piece. Everybody gets so fixated on how they're going to make things happen and what the process might be. But sometimes the biggest step is just make the decision and then see what unfolds.
Yeah, 100%. And even the house that I moved into, the person who'd lived there before, he passed away sadly, but loads of people knew him and he used to walk around to the shops every day, get his paper and things. And they were like, "Oh, have you moved into this person's house?" I said, "Yeah." And everyone knew him, and I just loved that as a legacy that kind of almost came with the house. And I
Yeah.
just said to myself, like, I wanna be that person as well. I wanna say hi to people. I wanna know who works in all of the shops that are behind me and things like that. So, yeah, there was all these things that just it was that opportunities multipliers that I seized again. but I was looking for them.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you're actually able to notice them. And perhaps that's one of the things that is going to see your business keep evolving and keep having success, is that you're very good at noticing where the opportunities are, not overthinking them, and then jumping into action.
Yeah, I hope so. I feel like that. And yeah, I trust that I'll always figure out something to come next, whatever that will be.
I love that, Hannah. It's been so wonderful having this conversation with you. Where can everybody find out more about you and connect with you online?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with everyone. So my Instagram is hicommunications_. I'm hicommunications.co.uk, and my book is available on there, and also The Best 90 Days Ever, which starts every 90 days. So yeah, if you've just missed one, there'll be another one in 90 days, whenever you're listening to this. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Hannah.
Oh, how good was that episode? So here we are with the rebellious recap. Number 1 then, ditch the New Year's resolutions and use your birthday as an annual marker for deciding the theme of your next 365 days. Unusual and slightly rebellious, but it could set your inner compass without following the trend for a word of the year, yawn. Number 2, we talked a lot about big fish energy, which I loved, and the essence of this boils down to 2 things you could also adopt going into your next month, quarter, or year by asking yourself, in what areas of my life do I want to improve in? And how can I make that feel fun as well? 3, be an underthinker. If you tend to stress over what to do, try following the fun a little and asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen? 4, opportunities multiply as they are seized. So if you feel stuck or like things just aren't moving for you, focus on one tiny thing that you could do. Taking action creates opportunities. Then it's up to you which ones you decide to seize and run with. 5, if you don't know what your thing is, it's totally okay. Don't get hung up on it, but just be open to experimenting. Because when you keep trying things that feel aligned, it brings you closer to discovering your real mischief. 6, sometimes you can allow things to be easy and quick. Break out of that conditioning that wants everything to feel like hard work and come out perfect. Set yourself a timer and be strict. Then hit publish and trust that it's probably good enough. 7, have you got a sassy version of yourself you can call upon to get shit done? Stop overthinking it, put your timer on and crack on. 8, if you're in a social media funk, try reposting some content from a year ago, which no one will likely remember, by the way, or scrolling, but doing it intentionally with curiosity so that you're noticing the hooks that you like, the images that stop you, and taking inspiration rather than getting caught in the comparison trap. 9, if you want to really connect with people in your marketing, give them something to connect with. Often this will mean getting into more personal stuff than just your work or business persona, but don't be afraid to set your own boundaries as to what you feel comfortable sharing. And number 10, and I do love this one, decide what you want to happen. Start taking those small steps in the direction of the thing you want, but also trust yourself to know that you'll always figure things out. That's a wrap on another episode of the Mischief Movement podcast. If today's content stirred something in you, let's keep in touch on Instagram or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can even click the link in the show notes to sign up to my Mischief Mail newsletter, where you'll get exclusive insights on upcoming episodes and your chance to submit questions to future guests. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. For more info on ways to work with me and some fun free resources, check out the website themischiefmovement.com. Until next time, stay bold, stay rebellious, and of course, keep making mischief.